meeting will come to order. Township of Parsippany Troy Hills Township Council agenda meeting on June 9, 2016. The starting time is 7:38.
Posting of notice. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Law by filing the notice in the office of the Township Clerk and by posting the meeting notice on the bulletin board at the Municipal Building on May 11, 2016, where it has remained posted since that date. A legal notice appeared in the Daily Record on May 11, 2016, and was forwarded by fax to other local newspapers and local radio stations on December 17, 2015. Note, council meetings are videotaped and aired on Cablevision Public Access Channel 21 at 11 o'clock a.m. on Sundays, and are also available for viewing at www.parsippany.net.
Okay. Mr. Creevy, flag salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. Carriffy?
Here.
Mr. DePiero?
Here.
Ms. Grignani?
Present.
Mr. Peluso?
Present.
Also in attendance are Business Administrator Ellen Sandman, the Chief Municipal Financial Officer Ann Cucci, the Mayor James Barbario, Township Attorney Justin Marquetta, and the Township Clerk Colette Madden. Mr. President, we have a quorum. You may begin.
Great. The upcoming meetings will be June 21st at 7:30. That'll be our regular meeting. And July 5th, 7:30 will be our agenda meeting. The approval of our minutes, the regular minutes were on May 24th, 2016. And we'll be doing presentations. We going to do that now, Mayor?
Yes.
Prior to the budget? Great.
I'm going to read into the record
So-
my budget introduction.
Okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, members of the Township Council. 2015 and 16 was good for Parsippany. Much was accomplished to improve our town and the quality of life to our residents. It gives me great pleasure to present to you my 7th budget as mayor with an opportunity to recognize 2015's accomplishments, give a status on the township services, and highlight why Parsippany remains to be one of the most desirable places to live, work, raise a family, and do business. I want to thank my colleagues on the council for the support and cooperation. If there is one thing I've learned in the past year, is that our government works best when there's a mutual respect and combined effort. Parsippany continues to grow. The people of this community, the projects we create, and the vision we share today are the building blocks for our future. A future that looks bright, and here's why. I will start by providing information on the financial health of Parsippany. We have continued to maintain our AA bond rating, which assures us low interest rates on our debt. As you well know, the collection of taxes provides us with the resources to run the town and provide first-rate municipal services to our community. I am proud to tout the amazing success rate we have with our tax collection. The rate is actually more than 99%, which is almost unheard of. As the economy begins to recover, we have seen construction increases within the building department, processing more than a record 4,000 construction permits in 2015. We have successfully achieved a positive ratable base with the addition of UPS, GAF, and Zoetis coming to town. IMS moved into their new facility, which has long been vacant along the Route 80 corridor, and Ferring Pharmaceutical has done a major expansion. Stanbury is just around the corner, and Matt Cali has come in with a plan to upgrade their corporate center. While development is prominent on everyone's mind, we have successfully negotiated a deal to bring Whole Foods to the Waterview Tract on Route 46 with an equitable balance of open space and commerce, and we were even able to save the Doremus Ridge from development. We've hired a new superintendent, Joe Beckmeyer, for the sewer utility. Parsippany's modernized wastewater system is a state-of-the-art and has been providing us with additional outside revenue for many nearby towns like Mountain Lakes, East Hanover, Montville, and Denville, as well as a significant decrease in our energy costs. Another utility where we have made strides of major significance is an Old Country Club and Golf Course. We have successfully implemented a new website and initiated plans for a driving range. Perhaps the biggest achievement of all is that we have attracted the Women's Public Links Championship amateur event. Senior match play was presented by the NJ State Golf Association at our beautiful facility. July 5th is the scheduled date for the upcoming NJSGA Women's Championship. At this rate, there is no telling the heights we can reach when improvements to the clubhouse are finalized. The major accomplishments for the water utility in 2015 include the completion of our standby generator replacement improvement project. This project was a direct result of lessons learned from Hurricane Sandy. This $400,000 capital improvement included the replacement of a 250 kilowatt diesel generator at well number 8 and a new 180 kilowatt natural gas generator at well number 18. We also installed new electrical transfer switches at wells number 10, 19, and 20. These improvements greatly strengthen the options available to the water utility in the event of another major power failure as experienced during Hurricane Sandy. This project is complete and all equipment operating as specified. When we work together to improve our infrastructure, everyone benefits. 16 streets were reconstructed with new drainage and curbing to include 18,000 feet of road. 25 streets were milled and paved, which is 28,000 feet of road, and the dike was brought up to state standards in Lake Parsippany. With extremely low crime rates, Parsippany is recognized as a safe town, yet our police department continues to look better and more efficient ways to serve. A responsible government must provide a safe and secure community, and we have accomplished just that. With the addition of 8 new police officers, we have brought the force back up to 101. With many new programs on the horizon, we expect Parsippany to remain safe and secure. Planning and Research has implemented the new Pro-Phoenix system, which encompasses the entire life cycle of public safety software functionality, and we have successfully reduced police overtime by 50% in 2015. One of the reasons that makes Parsippany so desirable is our park system. The expansion of Smithfield is nearing completion. It is a prime project that has come in on time and under budget. Now that is commendable. Inclusive of our new playground equipment and exercise stations, we take pride in many additions to our parks, which are continually being upgraded to accommodate the needs of a rapidly growing community. I want to thank my colleagues, especially our business administrator, Ellen Sandman, and CFO, Ann Cucci, for their leadership in helping to successfully negotiate many contracts the township was confronted with. These include the blue-collar employees, blue-collar supervisors, Police and Superior Officers Association. Guided by the spirit of common goals and common sense, we achieved what everyone thought was impossible. My budget reflects my priorities, and we all concur that there was a need for change. We were able to transact a police contract that started new hires at 2014 would max out at $15,000 for sick and vacation day payout upon retirement. I am grateful to my team for achieving this, a feat that even the governor was unable to accomplish. We have prepared tonight a PowerPoint presentation for your clarification to help you better understand the items I have discussed. I know that we are on the right track for Parsippany, and with all the new and exciting things we have planned down the line, we will have the resources to meet the challenges of the future. At this point, I would like to turn the floor over to our very dedicated business administrator, Ellen Sandman, and our CFO, Ann Cucci. They will embellish the facts, connect the dots, and tie everything together, providing the additional information needed to fully understand our objectives. As Henry Ford said, coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, working together is success. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah,
All right, before
It
you
should work.
yeah, she's working on the mic. Yeah, you wanna hand it out or this way? The mayor's gonna hand out the PowerPoint presentation to the council. We'll have some
Should
additional
I turn the light a little bit?
papers on the table here.
Dim the lights,
And
maybe?
This way, if the council wants to write some notes or
Yeah, we prepared this PowerPoint. I know we haven't done this before, but we thought for the public and for, of course, the council, that we would highlight some of the points of the budget for 2016. I'll start, and of course, the mayor and Ellen will join in at any time. So, page 1 here. Okay. The municipal tax rate is increasing. It's 2.36 of a tax point. This is just a summary. We'll go into that a little further. On the user-friendly budget, it's more detailed. If you see page 2 of the user-friendly budget, it explains more detail of the tax points. The good news is that we increased the taxable valuation of the town. The net assessed value went up 1.249 million this year, which is nice for a change. Thank you, Danny. It hasn't gone up in a long time, so we're hoping that trend will help. Of course, the increase will keep your tax flat going into the future years, hopefully, as we increase our the valuation of the town. The good news is also we're funding the unfunded vacation sick payout liability. That's what we pay out to the people who retire, mainly the police officers. That hasn't been funded aggressively over the years, and we've explained that to the Finance Committee, and we're actually putting extra money in this year to the tune of over $200,000 to fund this and get ahead of it versus behind, which it's been for many, many years.
And what I,
Go ahead, Ellen.
I'm going to just speak aloud.
You want this?
One of the things that we did provide for the council, both earlier today we provided for the council more drilling down into this unfunded liability. I would just point to the council when they did look at it that we did an additional sheet. There will be is there a slide on that, Ann, or
Yes.
is not? Okay, before we see that slide, just an explanatory. In 2011, there was X amount of dollars, and instead of funding it, then paying it out, it was, I'll say, short by $700,000. That's not the way that you need to pay this large number. This is the payouts, as you know, and that's why the mayor's point of saying that we were able to negotiate that the max going forward from 2014 to the to all the new hires, the max that we'll ever get is $15,000. You know that payouts are in the tunes of $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. We have stopped that, but also you have to pay what was prior many years ago. So you will notice, the council will notice, and maybe when we get to that slide, you'll notice the breakdown. It goes down a little bit more is paid in 12 and 13, and then when we saw that this is not how it should go, we decided that the number was, say, $1 million something. We paid 900 and another number, and we were aggressive again, 900. But this year we said we have to take this back. We have to move forward. We have to make a budget that there are days you have to pay the piper before the piper really comes due, and you have no control over a managed and a balanced budget. So what we did was, as Ann said, we had a cost of $1 million X, and we made sure that it was $1.2 million, meaning that when you look at what the out years will be, we're turning the tide. It's turning to be at a lower number. It's coming down, because if you only pay on your credit card the cost without just the interest and a little bit of you can get in a lot of trouble. So we're turning the tide on that, but it does have a factor. It's one of the drivers that has made this budget be where it is.
I have, the slide shows the amount of money, the total amount that was increased for that particular item. The council got the breakout on the sheet, Ellen. That breakout is with them. It didn't go in a slide because it's quite complicated, actually. But of course, we're happy to answer any questions on that. We also established the self-insurance fund reserve that we talked about. It's being established on an ordinance in today's package. That needs to be over $3 million. It's a calculation of a percentage, so that if we ever come out of the self-insurance fund, as the council knows, we'll have money in the bank to continue to pay out our self-insurance. We're also funding the library, medical, and
Before you get
pension-
to that, on that
That's
note,
after that.
yeah, before we leave the
sorry.
$3 million, I want to say that when we did have a finance meeting, we had the auditor there, and he had recommended that it be at least 2.8. I can tell you that after we did all the calculations, it's more than $3 million. In fact, it's about $3.2 million, $3.3 million. So we are working together, and as we get down further in the slides, and I turn it over to the mayor when we talk about how we're doing that, and that's through that wellness program and monitoring, our people's health and welfare. So back to you, Ann.
Just
Okay.
one question. And Ellen, what is the ideal amount, or like the maximum amount that you should have in that fund reserve?
Well, he had recommended 2.8, and we were pleased to come back when we did the minutes of that meeting. We came back with 3.3.
So next year, per se, we're not going to be having an issue with that.
We hope not. It depends on how much money, how much of our expenditures actual experience is. But
Okay.
we're trying to keep it higher at like 3.3.
Okay.
Okay?
One of the other things to note is that, remember, there's the premium, and then there's what the actuary will tell you what you need to fund and pay into that fund. And we lived up to putting into the amount of money there that was necessary. That was a recommendation of the actuaries. Now, here's the point. That they talk about the rainy day or the catastrophic illness or the cost of specialized medication. It can be a big driver, but we don't budget in excess, but we certainly budgeted aggressively. That's a very good word to use, because we are being very cognizant of it. On the flip side, what do? You have to work with your employees, and I don't want to get too much ahead on that one. I want to leave that for the mayor.
Yeah, I have more detail on the medical and the experience going forward. As I do, this is just some bullet points. We're talking about funding some of the library, medical, and pension. It says deficit, but it's quite a history of what happened. They're a good example of a snapshot that they had a catastrophic situation. It's not their fault per se at all. It was just part of a big package, and I want to go into that later on. We increased the police personnel to 104 officers. We have the shared service agreement with the Board of Ed. I think the mayor can speak to that.
I got a phone call from Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Seitz. He's so ecstatic. He's so ecstatic.
There it goes.
He's so ecstatic on how well it's working, and I have to tell you, a lot of the school parents I've spoken to,
If you just press that, it really does work better.
and this is just the tip of the iceberg for the shared service agreement. There's so much that's going on with this that other communities, Hanover Township, Dover, all towns like that, are looking at Parsippany now on how we have a shared service agreement with the Board of Ed. We have a councilman from Hanover Township that actually is going to come to my office to discuss how we did it, and I explained the whole process. But it's even better than that. We have a lot of assemblies we're going to be doing for anti-drug, anti-human trafficking, anti-bullying. We have people on board that want to speak, and we really want to reach out to the children more, because as you know, you were councilman, you were a DARE officer.
Yes.
But it stops in 5th grade. And a lot of the consensus is that you really can get to these kids more in the middle school area. So we're going to be doing that as well. I got to tell you, Lieutenant Brian Dowd, totally phenomenal at doing what he's doing. Last night we had a what's it called again? In-house a community. We're doing our Police Explorers program. The place was packed. I mean, we had so many young adults coming in from 14 to 20 years old who are ecstatic, and a lot of, and I figured it this way, and, and I'm sure the council does as well. When you invest money in your community and you invest money in your children, you're investing it properly, and that's exactly was the consensus last night. But I have to tell you, the shared service agreement, it's going to be better. It's going to get better as it goes on, and once they pass the Class 3, we're going to be able to staff it. But, of course, you still got to continue with your negotiations with the school board. So I have to tell you, I'm extremely excited and excited about what's happening in Parsippany when it comes to the shared service agreement.
The next thing that is in our budget that's very exciting is our emergency medical services expansion. I think Ellen can speak to that.
One of the things that is very important when you're trying to gear up for the future and the future expectations as we express to the council. I just would like to go on record as saying that as of June 8th this year, EMS billing return, this is the increase, $175,000 compared to last year at this time. So as you know, we've been fully funding in excess of the job that we're doing out there with the EMS. And now, as of this time, we're increased, the revenue there is $175,000. But it's not just about dollars and cents, as we know. Increased public safety for the western section of the township has, we've decreased the time and the ambulance response by 4 to 5 minutes, as staffed ambulances would be stationed in this area. This is some of the things that we're looking forward to doing. This budget will allow the township to pursue shared services for 24-hour emergency medical service coverage of other municipalities. Will allow the township to pursue 24-hour mutual aid agreements with neighboring municipalities by expanding current agreements beyond the 6 a.m., 6 p.m. parameters. It will also establish a foundation to explore the ability to provide what they call ALS. Right now, it's a basic life support system when the ambulance comes out. But by investing in our people and investing in this particular EMS program, we will be able to do the advanced life support within Parsippany, thus providing a greater service to our residents that are in most need. Potential to net an additional $100,000 in yearly revenue. Ambulance will be available to back up the township volunteer squads, and a lot for employee advancements by establishing a better organization and command structure. And this will enable us to more efficiently administer the child passenger safety program, and then also develop other programs in that regard. So they're out there, they're not just going on calls, they're also being very proactive as the child passenger safety program and other programs that our Leader Dean Snook is very much aggressively pursuing, and we are pursuing other opportunities in the area to, again, by building that up and by building the relationships with others, we guarantee that we've reduced time, and it's a program where there's increased service, and the fact that we're also increasing the funds, the revenue. It's a win-win situation. It's a blessing.
Myself and the business administrator and Dean Snook, we met with our volunteer squads the other night and had a dialogue with them. We explained everything to them that we're doing, and we have an open door policy with them. So now what we've done is we're going to coordinate with our volunteer services on a monthly basis. Whatever needs we have, whatever needs they have, they will be coming to my office on once a month to discuss any issues they have, from communication, what they need, and stuff like that. Because we told them that we want to work together, and it was a really great meeting with the volunteers and the MT and with the administration.
And one of the other highlights of our budget is the health insurance, of course, and the wellness program. I'm not sure if you want to elaborate on that at all, Matt.
I'll let you elaborate. I don't know what to say. Ever since we started the wellness program, I think it was back in 2011, I tell you, it was a risk. You don't know how it's going to work out, but I have to tell you, it's worked out. I don't want to say tremendous because I sound like somebody tremendous, but no, it's worked out so well for us. As you know, last year we came I think it was 1.2 million under the premium. There was no increase in our premium this year in health insurance. Our dental decreased premium, but we increased the services that come with that. But the wellness program, we're doing contests with our workers, and I have to tell you, they are into it. And we have healthier employees. When you have healthier employees, you have less doctor visits. You have, you have not just less doctor visits, but the fact of the matter is that your premiums go down because of the less amount of, the conditions that a lot of individuals in town, the blood pressure went down on a lot of our workers, weight loss, 7 people stopped smoking, so
Right.
It's working pretty well for us. And return on investment has been extraordinary.
The medical is different than, when you're self-insured, we have an investment in our people because it is a direct relationship of how much we pay versus how much is, it's not like Blue Cross Blue Shield where you spend $10,000 a year or whatever on your premium and you get whatever services you get. No, we pay whatever happens. Whatever claims come in, we pay those claims. That's why this is very different than your regular medical that you're used to seeing, and we had to get used to that ourselves. So that's why the wellness program is here. We're excited about it. So I'll get into a little more detail. This shows the property tax rate. The school is, as you can see, the biggest part of your tax bill. You'll see the county as well. The library is there. And the municipal open space, and then the little municipality over there, providing all that service to you. I think this is quite telling. We wanted to show the tax rate trends a little bit from 2012. As you can see, the library has remained flat. It's a rate, so they have to, that's what they get really. But the county has remained somewhat flat, as has the municipality. You can see it really hasn't moved. Where your big numbers are is in the school. That's what it is. You got to push that button.
And with regard to that, you know, I know we're concerned about, you know, the shared services that we just talked about, and the school is providing for the first time as of last year the $100,000, and now it's $260,000 towards the police that are providing the services, and so that is truly a shared service. The other thing that I just wanted to go on record, which is kind of unsung for the last X amount of years, probably 17 years, the town does picks up the trash and recyclables to the tune of $65,000. That is incorporated in our budget. We pick up the school trash as well as the recyclables. So this is something that in most towns, all towns, this is a unique individual town. We are, in our budget, we are paying for their refuge and recycling. So it should be noted because it is $65,000. And again, one of the things, so you can jot it down when you're thinking of numbers, one tax point is $716,000.
Right. Now this shows the tax bill comparison from 2015 to 2016 on the average residential net assessed value of $309,000. You could see that your school taxes are going up about $108 a year, or 4.15 tax points. The municipal tax will be $74.21 a year, okay, or 2.36 tax points. And of course, the library doesn't move because until that, it says it really stays flat. Fire districts, that's the average, and the open space doesn't change really. So your total change is $145 a year.
And is this a good segue when you're talking about points? Again, $716,000 each point. However, the fact that how is it that we can do 2.36? Is this a good segue to talk a little bit about it, or do you have another slide?
Well, I have plenty of about what makes up that 2.3.
What I am suggesting you speak on, if you are not going to speak on it in another, is the cap bank that allows us, without going to referendum, to exceed 2%.
Oh,
Very
okay.
good, Ellen.
Thank you very much, Lou.
I was like,
did I say it the way you told me?
What's
You're
the?
scaring me here.
I just did a little bit of a clue there. Okay, there's two types of banks. There's the levy bank, which the levy cap bank, as you know, there is levy cap and appropriation cap. The levy cap is 2% a year. And what happens is that if you don't go to the 2%, we're allowed to bank it for 2 years really, or actually is a total of 3. So the township had available $3,712,000 in its bank. What that's saying to you is that the township should have been raising our taxes a little bit more every year. You should really be almost, if it had gone up 1.5%, that bank would be much lower. So what it does is it provides for you in case you need to have raised the rate a little bit more each year. It says, look, we get it. You may not have been able to do that. Something have happened. Here's your money. We'll put it aside so that you don't have to go for vote. We have $3,712,000 in that cap bank. This year, with the 2.36 municipal tax point, we're using a total of $415,000. That's it. So, yes, we're allowed $818,000, but we're going to take from the bank only $415,000, leaving you $3,300,000 in your levy cap bank. All right, realizing there's two different caps. We can talk about appropriation cap as well. I think
And I think what's important to say when you're talking about this, that the allowance that even the governor and the legislators are saying that flat, trying to keep things flat at 2%, they also realize that there are times when you come across a budget and you want to be proactive so that you don't put yourself in a situation going forward. We're talking about funding an unfunded liability. It's something that the legislators didn't come to terms with till the late 1990s, and it's significant. We all know about the stories about people, that you are getting paid. This is how it was for years. That this is how it built up. So we're keeping under that, but what we're doing, we're aggressively paying it down, and we've made every effort to modify. As we've said, we've reduced the payout to the flat $15,000, and if I'm still here when I negotiate again, it will be less.
I'll also speak to the other bank, or the other cap, which is the appropriation cap. That's different. There was also a cap bank for that. But this year, there was no COLA increase, but the total allowed to increase on your appropriations was 3.5%. We did do that. It's $1,756,000. We used a little tiny bit of that bank, not much, but we're still at $2,075,000 in your appropriation cap. So we really haven't used much of anything in this budget.
And when does that run out?
That goes the same kind of thing. In 2014, we had $2 million in cap bank, and that will go away next year.
So we've been responsible with that money.
Yeah, I mean, and we have another $1 million from last year we're not using at all. So that'll stay there if we need it. Of course, you're in charge of that. It just gives you an opportunity to be able to do what you have to do depending on what happens, like medical, like any kind of thing that's over that, but it happens to be 3.5%, which is pretty healthy, and that's the minimum that they tell you to raise your taxes. Your appropriations. So that's basically the cap banks. It's confusing. There's two. I'd be happy to answer any detail later on. I'll go over a little bit about revenue. The local tax for the municipal purposes, $43 million. It's about 63% of your budget, and you can see going down. We have miscellaneous revenues. That includes like ambulance, EMS, all the fees, things like that, is 15%. State aid, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more. What does state aid mean? It's not what you think. State aid is kind of a terrible term to use for that because it's really not aid at all. We're using surplus. That's basically the same. It's a little less than last year at $3.7 million. Of course, the tax for the library, they get that money, we collect it, we give it to them.
And before you leave the surplus or the fund balance, leave that, what did we regenerate?
$5.8 million.
$5.8 million. Again, very, very telling. That shows how healthy we are.
Right.
What we did was we used close to 3.7 or 3.8 or whatever it was.
We've been doing that every year for
but
years.
we regenerated. Can you
Right.
say that number again?
We
Because it's
regenerated
significant.
$5.8 million.
Okay.
The audit will be here, by the way. He's finished, just finished. We're waiting for the final documents, I would think, on the next meeting. So we're surplus 2.5 million. Receipts from delinquent taxes. We don't have much delinquent taxes in this town. We're at 99.3% collection rate, which is excellent. Mayor spoke
And
about
what we
that.
might do, instead of doing it at the other part, while we have a little bit of an audience, you want to say that we had the tax sale today?
Yeah, we had the tax sale today. The properties, for the most part, all sold except for 5, I believe, and we generated $1,004,000, 1,004 in tax premium, which is very exciting. People wanted our properties. They went back and forth. One property got $170,000 in premium. Yeah, or 100. It was unheard of. 140. I'm sorry, but a lot of money.
And that's only with the ones that weren't, which Terry knew were not going to be, that's our tax
Yeah, there were a few properties.
You're talking about less than 30 properties brought into the town, the million, over $1 million.
Okay, that's our revenue. I have a nice picture that shows the revenue, where it comes from. We have, I think that's pretty clear. By the way, this is available. It'll be up on the website, so you don't have to, if you want, you'll be able to pull this down. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about state aid. I think Ellen's going to elaborate. Back in 2001, there was the comptroller, which is your state aid, and then the energy receipts tax. Okay, that's our money. We used to collect it ourselves, and now, of course, that line you could see has gone up. The state gives us 40%, where we were collecting it and getting 100%. The state said to us, look, we're going to collect it for you. Thank you. So the number never changes, the dollar amount we get, but what they did, they play a game. They reduced the state aid, as you can see, all the way on the bottom down there in 2016. But they give us supposedly more of our energy receipts tax, but they really don't. The number's equal. We should have been collecting, and I calculated the number. It's $19.7 million the state has cheated us. And I'll say cheated, because they kept that money, and they didn't give it back to the town. Is there something else I can...
Just, back in 2000, when Governor McGreevey, I don't know if it was an executive order, legislators passed, it's called Consolidated Municipal Property Tax Relief Aid. That's what COMTRA means. That's the state aid that we're talking about. That they would be the banker, and basically they would say, okay, we'll collect the money, but we'll give it to you later on. Well, in 2010, that number was reduced by $1.2 million, which was like a little bit more than a tax point, and that's what it affects. That's sometimes one of the reasons why you got to raise taxes, or hopefully if you get more, like we should get. But like Ann Cucci said, a lot of those you have Verizon, you have all the power companies. They used to pay the fees directly to the townships. Well, not any longer. Like you said, we get 40%, they get 60%. The state. If anything should happen in the future, the state should let us collect what is rightfully ours.
On the appropriation side, of course, public safety is our #1 expenditure with the police and your EMS, et cetera. I think that's all in there. I'm looking. I'm not sure if it's the police budget. Yeah, Public Works. We have our own collection, sanitation, et cetera. Most towns do contract that out. We don't. We save quite a bit of money by doing it in-house. Our insurance, as you know, liability, group, everything. Our debt service, I have more detail regarding the debt service as we go on. Statutory and deferred, which are the payouts, and also your Social Security, pension, that's all in that number. The library, which includes the tax, so you can't quite look at it as a total number paid out. It's just giving them their tax plus some other money. General government is just overall. The code enforcement group, et cetera, all the way down. Grants are at $264,000. Right now, you look at that number, it usually goes up during the year as we get more grants, clean communities, et cetera, and then I just put them into the budget in the chapter 159. You hear me put those resolutions in as it comes up. So I can only put in either the cash we received or the absolute approval from the state that says you are getting this much money. That's all I can put in. However, there's a whole bunch of stuff in the works. And I have a pretty slide on that too. You get excited when you're an accountant, you're making pretty slides. And what has changed? I'd like to talk about this a bit. I'm going to skip the first part and just go into the next. Like we talked about with the police payouts, we did increase it by $300,000, trying to get ahead of it. Okay, the police budget itself went up $381,000. That includes the increased police pension, of course, and statutory is up $280,000. The UCC is your construction code, and their budget went up $263,000, but understand they're an entity onto their own, and they make their money, they charge fees, and they will offset that money. But I can't put that in the budget. It's two separate issues. Once we make the money, I'll be able to put it in next year. And the emergency medical services, your ambulance, is up $240,000, but we already generated $175,000 above what we did last year, so it already paid for itself. The library, medical, and PRS contributions, I have more detail on that in the next slide I'd like to talk about. Any questions on this? No? What happened with the medical? Previous administrations, this goes back a long time. What happens with the library is that they were given a certain amount of money to pay each year. Here's your premium, so to speak, okay?
And I think you have to go back further. What you
Okay.
have to start with is why the library went with the town and why they.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so just so that people understand.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I
It's
didn't
important.
realize. The library is part of the town when it comes to medical. They have to be. That's the way their pension and medical are. They're like a quasi government entity, okay? So they are with our medical. We've talked about other
So,
ways.
in other words, what I'm trying to say here is they couldn't go, say, to the state health benefit on their own. They couldn't try
No.
to, the cost would be astronomical.
They could never have done that.
And it's one Parsippany, correct?
Right, we are all one. So, and that includes pension for them too. They're part of us, and their deferred compensation, et cetera. However, they are on their own budget. They have their own auditors. Last year, well, let me back up. They were told to pay a certain amount of money to the township per person for premiums. They budgeted that much money. That's what they did for years. However, the comparison was, it was all well and good until with self-insurance, the rainy day came, and the rainy day did come for them, unfortunately, for one of their employees. And in the end, their total medical expenses last year were almost over $900,000. Not their fault, but that's what happens with the rainy day. So, they were told to pay $365,000 out of their budget for premiums. As we looked at it this year with a whole new group of people looking at the medical, we realized that they were not budgeting to the top amount that they should have been budgeting.
Again, the word actuary. The actuaries say, here's a premium you pay, but it wouldn't always cover the cost.
Right,
And
what
the cost
happens-
is recommended by the actuary. I mean, instead of saying, well, then maybe we should budget 900, the actuary in this case said the 600. No, I'm just throwing out numbers,
Well, what-
600,000.
What
Because they got it
misunderstood is that self-insurance is, all right, this is your maximum amount that it would be allowed, let's say, for the number of lives. They calculated this year for the library 622,000. However, they were not communicated that. They were communicated you have to pay, let's say, 300, and they were told to pay $365,000. because the premium per person, let's say, was $20,000 each. That's not how self-insurance works. Self-insurance is $622,000 divided by 12 to get to your maximum and hope that you have a good year. And whatever's left, that's what goes into that reserve that we have established and worked out. We have budgeted to our max. However, the library's communicated a whole different thing. Be that, of course, because they have such a small group of 28 people, one catastrophic, it's not like us who can absorb 400, we have 400 and some odd people in our group. It's easy to absorb that catastrophic illness. So what happened was they ended up with $900,000 in claims, and they were short in the medical by $535,000.
So the question I have for you is, for next year, for planning purposes, how do we prepare and have a vision of what is needed in their budget,
Right.
so we don't run into the shortfall?
That's exactly right. We've been meeting with the library since last year when we started to see this trend, and we all recognized that, wow, look at this, there's somebody's very ill here. Because every week we fund the actual claims. And oh my gosh, look at these claims coming in for the library. They, of course, didn't realize that it's self-funded. They thought they're paying a premium like Blue Cross Blue Shield, everything gets covered, and you go into a big pool. Well, it doesn't work like that, not in our self-insurance. And by the way, the state health benefits is also self-insurance. I just have to put that out
Just
there.
a quick question for you.
Sure.
I know they're not township employees, the folks that work at the library, okay? They're like you said, quasi, it's almost like their own embassy per se, but they're under our medical coverage for being self-employed. Why don't they just become part of our pool then? Because like you had said, if we have numbers, it would absorb that.
Right, that's basically what we're doing.
Right.
That's
and
what you're doing now?
That's what we're doing now.
But we want to explain.
So we're going to shift that to our favor then?
Well, what we're going to do is budget for the shortfall. I'm going to go through this. That's why I'm taking the time a little bit
Yeah.
to show exactly what you're saying is what we're going to be doing.
And Lou, it's going to, and everybody that's here, it's going to be steps. She's explaining 2015, but as you see, when you get to 2016, we start to make everybody aware of what we're
Cool.
talking about. But you can't just say to someone, okay, pay this, because,
Yeah,
I
real.
understand.
and that's
What she's gonna go through, and then we're gonna go, it's
Okay.
gonna maybe take us a little time, but we're gonna get there because we're one Parsippany.
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, yeah,
that-
It's a story, I think, that we want to tell. The other thing that we did with the library is their pension went up, their percentage of the employer pension went up, and they paid $110,000. We had agreed to that, so there was $65,000 we contributed to their pension. So last year, in 2015, we ended up funding $600,000 for the library. So what we did was we spoke to the library, we had their budget, and we decided we're going to budget to the max. Instead of, here's your $20,000 premium, this is the max, $622,000, that's from the actuary. They were able to put in their budget $415,000. That's what they're giving us this year, period. So what's that leave us? $200,000 that we're going to fund for the library. What we're hoping for is increase assessments.
This was a very in-depth discussion
was a
with
long
the
time.
auditor in February, and then the report was then given to the council on March 7th, describing all of this. Is that
Correct.
correct?
And we also discussed it briefly before the end of the year as well, and we did meet with the library, because it's a difficult concept. I think it is. I mean, we didn't even realize the depth of this whole thing. So in 2016, they have budgeted $415,000, realizing that they can't go and knowing, did you see how their tax is flat? That's $200,000, a lot of money that we're asking them to give us this year. Look, you got to increase it. You got to give us $500,000 plus another $2, realizing that they're going to their max of $415,000. That's what they could put in, and they're giving that to the township. Next year, hopefully, because going to the max of 622, we're going to build a reserve for them. We're going to start to build what we have, that 3 million. Yes, we absorb them, but they need to have their own reserve, and that's what we're trying to get for them. So the total medical is 200. Again, the PERS we're funding. So you're seeing the total amount to be raised by the municipality this year of $271,000. That's where you're seeing, as you can see, I want to put in 600,000 for last year because we have to keep our fund going ourselves. That's for the medical, and the 271,000, that's where that 872 comes from. That's a significant amount of money, I realize that, in our budget, but we're doing the right thing here to make sure that we have enough money to be funded for the reserves that we have for self-insurance.
So what Ann is referring to is, although we stepped in because we got here and all of a sudden all hell broke loose with a catastrophic loss and us just coming on to self-insurance and making sure, and it had to be paid, and they are with us, so we paid it. And what Ann is doing now is reinvesting, in a sense, into ours as well as theirs.
Yes, we did pay all the bills out of thank God we had that reserve. We had the money, okay?
So, Ann, real quickly,
Yes.
and I know we have the 2% cap, okay? And I guess the folks in the audience have an idea about that. So by helping the library, where does that put us outside the cap?
It'll be, well, if we didn't do the 800,000, a tax point is 716,000, it's a tax point.
Okay.
We'd be at 1.36.
It's
Yeah.
the over tax, so instead of the 2.3, it would be, 1.3.
1.3,
So,
about.
in this
yeah.
sense, we have an emergency that's going on. That needs-
We really do, and it's the right thing to do. And in exchange, we've been speaking to them, on a weekly basis at one point. We've become very good friends.
It's not, and I want to correct you, Ann, because it's time to wordsmith. We've been talking to you. You've been talking with us. You've been listening. We've been listening. And we brought it to the attentions of the town fathers through the finance committee. It's not an easy thing, gentlemen and lady. I understand, and Mayor, I understand that it's money. It's money that was expended. It was money that that is taking care of our people that work in the library or work in work
In
for
town.
Public Works.
So here-
So what? Just let me finish, Lou, if I could, and just say sometimes we talk about helping the school or helping. The library needs our help, and
Well, and that's where I'm getting at.
yeah.
Right.
With this help that we're going to provide, hopefully, based on how the budget goes, where do you think we'll be out next year?
I
Are we gonna run
believe-
through this same issue, or?
No, we're going to be way ahead of this. We will not have that 600,000 to put back into our reserves, hopefully. I know there's some catastrophic stuff going on in town. I'm not at liberty to talk
Okay.
about, but hopefully that'll be absorbed okay. And we do have the $3 million in the bank already. This will fund and go into our fund of $3 million and hopefully absorb whatever we have coming down the pike. Right now, the library's right on track to be about $600,000.
And so you said they are going to be now in the larger pool of people,
Well, they aren't really.
so they won't. So then my question is, this year right now, we're already automatically 271,000 in the hole.
Yes.
If, God forbid, another rainy day comes, that 271 is just going to climb. So come next year, we could be in the same boat we're in this year.
Well,
No, you have, okay, Ann, I know
The
you're going to
reserves get
explain it,
larger
yeah.
now.
Well, no, I
Yeah.
know the reserve's getting a little bit larger, but I mean, compared to last year,
But
it
but
was
but now
900,000.
there's going to be a reserve with the library as
Yeah.
well. They're not going to just be saying budgeting this amount. It's going to be,
Right,
it's
but, okay,
budgeted
so
already
how
by,
much
yeah.
this year, like how much is of this money we're giving them is going into reserve?
it's all going into reserve.
It's all going to reserve.
It's all going into reserve. If they don't, let's say they have $400,000 experience, but we're budgeting 622. They're giving us 400,000. That 200's going into reserve.
Right.
For them.
So we're at 622.
Right.
But what I'm saying is last year, they incurred 900.
That's correct.
So that would mean we'd be 278,000.
Almost 300,000.
Right. What's happening is that we budgeted to the max this year. We have to start somewhere. We went to the max. This is what they say that their max could possibly be before reinsurance kicks in. I think it's a safe number. I think it's high. It's conservative. To go to 900,000 would be too much. I highly doubt that we'll have that
I know,
experience.
but I'm just saying, God forbid if we did.
But she also was telling you that there is then, once you reach it, you don't have to pay any, talk about,
Right, well, the
talk
six-
about how it caps out, because if you budget to the max, what happens with the,
Correct. I mean, if we're budgeting to the max, according to the actuary, anything above that max 622 will have reinsurance. Why it went to 922, it's cash. And I believe those were from prior years as well. Right? Am I saying that right?
here's the problem. What we're dealing with is that bump in the 2015. By dealing with it in the way we're dealing with it in 16, ourselves and them as part of the partner,
putting back in
Ann
our
is a very strict when she answers no. It's not a total no. They do experience our largesse in the experience. That's how we were able to help them out in 2015. However, now we're recognizing, they are recognizing that you don't just pay the premium, you got to pay the cost, and the cost is different. So now we're building that up. And again, Paul, you're saying, what about another catastrophic loss? We're dealing with the facts and the issues as we know them now. We are monitoring it. We are pulling out all the stops. They are part and parcel of the wellness program. They are part and parcel of visitations by the health insurance folks. And we're doing our darndest. We're
stay ahead of
self-insured
it.
folks. We're running another business besides trying to run the town. So it's a heavy lift, but we're
The
doing it.
downside is if we don't do it and something catastrophic happens, it's pay me now or pay me later, basically.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So we have to be
and the thing,
responsible.
you have to remember with the library is that their funds are they're flat right now because of the assessed values. Hopefully next year, we have so many good things coming up. We know that next year it's going up a bit. I think we spoke to it a minute ago, but we do have the UPS coming on. We do have other things coming on that will increase their money coming in,
Supplement it, yeah.
and it'll supplement that.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like I said, we're monitoring this. We all understand what's going on in addition to other things. So I understand this is complicated, but it took us some time to
Right.
really.
One of the reasons why I believe the council president asked the library folks to be here, and we're happy that you are here, is that there now needs, besides this and getting through this, there's tough decisions that have to be made, and we wanted to make sure you heard the message from the council as well as the mayor, and we're partners to try to make this happen, but there's going to be tough decisions coming down the line for all of us in regard to what's the future for the libraries. There's more than one, and this needs to be addressed, and it's going to be a tough one. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't mean to.
No, it's correct. I mean, I was on the committee. I love the library. My children all used it. They're all successful. We just want to do what's right for the library. You've done a great job, and then we have to be responsible for everybody that count in the town. And hopefully we'll work together and we'll make those tough decisions. But, we'll work together on it. We're here to help out everybody. And I'm glad that you were responsible enough and professional like you always are to show up here and, see what we're going through to get you to where you need to go. We appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you, Ellen, as usual.
So I'll continue. That was the heavy one, right? I wanted to talk a little bit about why we're self-insured versus the New Jersey State Health Benefits. New Jersey State Health Benefits, you're part of a pool, okay, just like self-insurance, but a gigantic self-insurance. You can see the increases over the years from 2012 to 2016. We would have no control over those increases. We feel that we have control over the self-insurance side, and you can see the increases, how much less it is. We've saved ourselves $3.8 million in premiums. We didn't have much of an increase at all this year. It was basically flat. Our increases in the prescription that we can't help, that's outside of the self-insurance. So the more we use our wellness programs to keep ahead of this, hopefully we can continue to have these kinds of savings.
And let me go on record as saying that being in this business for as long as I have been, and Ann as well, when we looked at each other when we first came here and said self-insurance, let's get back to the state. But we said no. Let's see. It might be the way to stay, and we're glad we did. And it's a learning experience, and one that I'm glad to be a part of, because it is the right thing to do, and we're going to just make it better. And again, like I said, we're pulling out all the stops, and we only can learn from others and get information. We have meetings with our department heads on this. We have meetings with the wellness coach organization on how to improve and how to get into different places where we're not as easily accessible. And it's not that they're not saying come in, but with the police department. And again, the stressful jobs of a police officer, the wear and tear on their physical being. So we're working together, and we're working smarter. And I wanted to just go on record as saying that.
If I can add, Council President, the League of Municipalities, the county one, wants us to speak at one of their meetings with regards to the wellness coach and the success that we've had. Other towns are interested in doing the same thing that Parsippany is doing.
Great, wonderful.
Yeah, and I just did it graphically to show the difference in the price. Okay, I went backwards. How did I do that? Okay, let's talk about debt service. As you know, we just recently had a Standard & Poor's credit rating at AA. We're hoping to go to AAA by building some surplus and going forward. Our budget and operating is $5.7 million, and in the utilities it totals $3 million. The net debt is $77 million. Realize what that means, though. It's divided by the equalized value. I can't even say that number, no, $8 trillion, and it's at 0.918%. We are allowed to be at 3%, okay? So this is very good, excellent, as a matter of fact.
Before you leave that number,
Oops, I
one of the
did.
things that we made a commitment to the people that are in this room and have been at past budgets is that we are in the throes of, after this audit report, we're going to go back into, again, that shows all our debt, correct, Ann? That's not just
Yes.
general, that's water, sewer,
That's all the
and golf.
debt.
That's all our debt, which is it's still a good number. However, that number will go down because we are reviewing various authorizations from former councils. Authorization is called an authorization to spend. It's a capital ordinance where you're given, okay, we're going to do this, and we need $4 million or $2 million, and we're in the process of taking a look at this authorization, which you wear, whether it's funded or not.
Correct.
And what I believe before the end of the year, we'll have a presentation showing that debt service is even less, because as much as the need for capital budgets is there when you need them, but even Parsippany wants to be a community where there's a lot of pay as you go, and you'll see that when Ann gets into water and sewer explanations of we like to pay where we can, so that we don't find ourselves in a debt situation as well. But that's not even a bad number, knowing that it could be upwards of 3%. But that number will be by the end, October, November, you'll see that we'll be reducing it.
Yes, when we go out for the bond anticipation notes, you'll see that come down. The notes that we're going to borrow in this year will come down. Okay, let's talk about water. We maintain and operate 37 facilities by 25 people. 200 miles of water mains. I don't know if you realize just how big this town is. I mean, I'm driving and driving and driving. We're still in Parsippany. 1,850 fire hydrants, and the average daily demand is 6.5 million gallons. There's something to be said about that. The revenues were 8.9 million last year, and we generated a surplus of $1.7 million, and we did use some of that. Clearly, we generated any surplus that was used in the budget. The balance, what's that? No, we're not using any. We're, the balance as of the end of the year was 6.1 million. We anticipate 7.9 million. We did collect a lot of extra revenue because of the last year, because of the way the billing cycles went, so we anticipate a little less. And the total budget appropriations were slightly lower due to reduced capital down payments. The capital projects for 2015 were $2,000,001. They did the lights on their own. Of course, they fully funded it, and we are doing the 2 million gallon no water tank cleaning and painting, and that was awarded just at the last budget, council meeting. New projects, we're fully funding. We don't have a lot. 170,000. We're replacing 400 feet of water main on Edwards Road. They're rehabilitating a well, number 13, and installing a new transfer switch. The water utility uses their capital. They do a capital budget. They use it for the most part. I believe Kevin Ryan does a great job. That's our water, and then we have our sewer. We maintain and operate 27 pump stations with 37 people. There's 350 miles of sewer mains and greater than 6,000 manholes. We serve Parsippany, Montville, East Hanover, Denville, and Mountain Lakes. And the average daily flow is 9.5 million gallons of you-know-what, with a capacity of 16 million gallons. We generated $16 million last year, and the surplus was generated was $2.9 million. And it has a balance of $11 million in surplus. Our goal with the sewer is to make sure that we go and start really aggressively paying down the capital debt. Because to be honest with you, that debt, $77 million, is mainly authorized debt from the sewer. And that's when you're going to start to see all that drop this year as we go into the ordinances, et cetera, the bans. We anticipate 16 million again, and we are somewhat higher because we're doing all the capital for the second year, pay as you go. They got the money. Let's do it. Let's reduce our debt, okay? The capital projects fully funded 600,000. You know, we had that big water main emergency, and they're doing some mag meters and things like that. In 2016, again, fully funded $1 million. Continue that main replacement. We are buying some equipment, collection look has upgrades.
And again, I mean, that's significant. Fully funded, 1 million. You know,
Right.
That is significant. It's a commitment we made last year, Pat, and we're doing it, and you're seeing it in writing. So
Yeah, we're doing that, but it's going to get better when we start we're really looking at the capital and the sewer. That's key. Some of the ongoing things is that Lake Hiawatha flow study they've been talking about for years is done. It'll be finished in 2016. That's huge. A Skyview pump station, Force Main project, the bid is going out in 2016. They have these, I took a tour of the sewer plant because they're going to let people tour it, and we wanted to make sure with the insurance company, I have a whole new appreciation for what goes through there. Just saying. It was a nice, cool day when I did it, okay? But anyway, it's very clean, but the rags and the grit give them a very hard time, so they're trying to do some improvements on that. And they're going to do, for the first time, clean and inspect this Inceptor line. It's 2 miles of a 48 to 72 inch diameter. Do you realize how big that is? Okay, they're going to start, they're getting proactive, and this was what's great about Joe Beckmeyer and their team. Now the Knoll, 36-hole golf course. I don't think you need me to talk about irrigation again. I promise. They have a new website, which is really neat. As the mayor spoke about, the Women's Amateur Public Links Championship was up there. and we're doing a long-range plan, and our goal as a township to the people is to make it a family golf recreation facility. It's not just a private golf course up there. The improvements to attract kids, attract families, as I'll talk about in a little bit. The revenue was $3.8 million. Surplus for the first time, we generated $452,000, and we have a balance, which is exciting, and we're not using it in the budget. Okay, we want to build some surplus here for the Knoll. In the 2016 budget, we're budgeting $3.2 million, realizing last year the weather was good, and this is kind of weather-based, and the budget appropriations remain the same. We're making a lot of changes at the golf course, and I'll talk about that a little bit. One of our projects is the driving range designed by this guy, Stephen Kay. He's terrific. It's going out to bid in July, and we plan to start construction in August to be open next Memorial Day. So we're really excited about that. Part of the driving range, it's going to start at the east versus up at the west. So down below, we feel that it'll attract more families, and we hope to put a miniature golf course back there too. So that's all in the planning stages. Because we're going below, by the east, put a nice miniature there. They can hit golf balls and really attract the young kids and the young people and the families. So because we're doing a long-range plan there, Stephen Kay will come and present it to the council when he's finished. We didn't do the irrigation plan because we have to think, you're going to spend that kind of money. Let's really look at the long-term plan and then spend that kind of money, if necessary. We do feel it is. However, let's wait and do it the right way. They're small. We're not purchasing a lot right now in the Knoll budget is only some equipment. But we'll come back to you later on when we start to talk about some of the bigger things we're doing. What I've done, I guess, I'm involved with the Knoll, is we decided to split up the golf course into two, the east and the west. And we promoted one of our he's wonderful, Matt Seacrest. I don't know if you met him, but he's been there for many years, and he's been going to school. And we decided to, because we feel John Grady is eventually going to retire, we should start to promote from within. So we split up the golf course to east and west. Doing so, they work together, we meet weekly, and they are doing an amazing job. I don't know if you've heard anything about the golf course, but they're raving about it, and it's really getting exciting. We also did Golf Now, which is an online tee time provider, to get it out there. So say you're in Parsippany, you're traveling, you want to play golf, you go online, it says Knoll West, Knoll East, you can play. So we're trying to get out there a little bit. Like I said, we're going to, in the future, include a construction miniature golf course. One of the concerns we have, of course, is the caterer contract to be bid in 2016 at the end of the year. And the Knoll West building, which we talked about, that needs some major renovations. That's going to be about $8 million, and that we'll be talking about ongoing through the year. And the Knoll East, we're going to repair the back steps and construct a canopy out there. As a matter of fact, we were supposed to meet about that today. It'll be a permanent canopy where people could sit outside. It's going to look lovely, really nice. So that's what's going on at the Knoll.
One of the things when Stephen Kay does come to make the presentation, he'll talk about the building as well as all the other amenities to the golf, and that's always the right way to do it. You plan, you review it, you take a look at it. One of the things that Stephen Kay said, which I thought was the best thing I could hear, he says, before I build anything, he says, I imagine that I'm sitting after everything is built out, and I'm having a drink, and someone comes in and says, did you think about doing this? He says, I never want that to happen.
Right.
So he has really, he's thrilled to be here because of the nature of what we're talking about as this gem of the golf course. And so I think you'll be pretty pleased with his presentation, and he's kind of well-renowned as far as someone that does good work. And we're happy that will be presented. But I know the mayor's getting ready. He can't wait to start that miniature golf.
And that's basically it for our little presentation.
Good job, Ann.
Great
Thank
job
you.
there.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ann.
Thank you.
We now, good, yeah, we now, Mr. President, we have to, we'll go forward with passing the ordinance before introducing the budget by resolution.
Okay, great. No one else has any other presentations or anything else to say, Ann?
Was there questions that we have for the administration, for Ann? I have some questions.
Ann?
Okay.
And we have questions?
Councilman Paluso has some questions?
Yep.
Ann, can you tell me what the percentages on our tax levy right now? Yes.
If you look at those,
Yeah, use the
I
mic.
guess I better, shouldn't have put this down. Should I, okay, the percentage of the tax levy to what? Do you want the levy or
Percentage of our tax levy.
the percentage?
Showed 2.36% of the tax point, which is 716,000. But what percentage is the taxes increasing?
If you look at the user-friendly budget, you'll see that the total municipal tax rate increase is 4.2%.
Okay,
Is that what you need?
yeah, so it's
Okay.
4.2% tax levy. So
No, not levy, that's the increase.
that's the increase.
Okay.
Percent.
As a
Percent.
that we're levying against the taxpayers, right?
That's just the municipal side.
On the municipal side. So how much are we taking right now from our capital fund in cash to try and offset expenses?
From the capital fund? Oh, 700,000? And the capital surplus?
Taking in cash from cash surplus?
No, no. There's, the regular surplus that we're taking is 3.7 million. We do it every year. It's a common, every year we generate and use 3.7 million.
And how much are we taking right now from the sewer?
2.5.
$2.5 million. So if you were to add the amount that we're putting out in cash and the sewer, would you say that we have a larger percentage increase if we weren't using that?
Of course.
So would that equate
But,
to?
to be honest with you, you can't look at the surplus and take those out. The $3 million, that, the 3.7 million has been ongoing for a long time. You're not, yeah.
But by using the sewer surplus,
Yep.
and using our cash that we have, effectively, we're not looking at 4.2%
Yes.
tax increase. We're probably looking somewhere around 7.9%.
I'm not sure what the total number is. I think the mayor could talk to the surplus.
But just let me just interject one thing. Our utility is one of our benefits that enjoys
Correct.
the town.
Realize that we put in a ton of money to bail out the sewer at one point.
So, okay, go on.
Okay, no, I know you said right now it's about 4.2%
Correct.
increase, right? And you said that one point was 716,000. So,
Again,
know that's the
again,
thing with the-
point and percent. just
right,
because.
right, 4.2%, and you said about 1 point was 716,000. Now, the library, because of the, what the incident, what had
The
happened.
800,000, yeah.
The rainy day and all that.
That's a point.
That was 862,000, so that's actually more than 1
Correct.
point.
Yes, yes.
If it wasn't for that 862,000 that we need to give to the library, what would the 4.2% come down to?
I have to do the math real quick.
Maybe if you just take, if you realize that
It's 700,000.
Point,
3.6, it would be 1.06 about, which is about 700 and some odd thousand. It went up, the total amount that went up was 1.69 million, okay? You're gonna take 800,000, it's almost half,
it's half.
Half, so that means the budget, it would come down to.
about 2%,
2%.
Yeah,
yeah?
that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
So,
So you'd be
right,
looking
so
at 2.6.
because of what's going on with the library, if it wasn't for that, we'd be right at.
Right at
about
2%.
Yes.
But you are taking the cash reserves of, $780,000 out, and you're taking 2.5% from the sewer.
Yeah, but we used the sewer last year too.
Yeah, we did, we used $1 million
So
to,
we generated it by
Yeah.
twice as much.
yeah, we used 1.5, 1.7.
First, you're absolutely correct. Back in 2005, the sewer was pretty much dilapidated, the sewer treatment plant, okay? It was running in the red, was gonna run in the red, and the township bailed out the sewer treatment plant. And I think it was in 2006, I wasn't on the council at the time, but the township bailed them out because they were headed to negative surplus, which means that the taxpayers had to fund it, which they did. Now that the sewer treatment plant is healthy, and is very healthy, the good thing about the sewer treatment plant, and Council President, you said it, is the fact that we can use those funds. And not only do we use them, we replenish them. The surplus gets replenished every year. In fact, what we used last year pretty much almost doubled.
Doubled.
Okay, but here's how you got to look at it. You're giving it back to the taxpayer, but if you did it in the form of a rebate, you also have to give it back to the commercial properties as well. Okay, so you wouldn't see the full effect, right, in the other towns as well. So the fact of the matter is, sewer surplus has been used. I know in the 80s, when we had an incinerator, it was even better. We don't have the incinerator right now, and I don't know if we're ever going to have one again, because we negotiated that, but there was some issues with DEP regulations, from what I understand. The fact is that this is a healthy sewer treatment plant, and you're giving it back to the residents. This is one way to give it back. Now, if you don't want to use the surplus, then you will be raising the taxes even more. And then once you raise the taxes even more and you want to get it down to a zero-based budget, then you got to make some tough decisions. And the only tough decisions that are left are layoffs. That's what's left. If you think you're going to cut expenses, those expenses are coattailed to what? Employees. Okay, so now if you really want to get to a zero-based budget, which I think this budget is a very good working budget, we overdid it last year and we're paying for it this year. The fact of the matter is, if you want a zero-based budget, you're going to have to lay a lot of people off. And then you won't be able to service when it comes to certain departments. So that's basically what you're looking at. Now, the sewer surplus, the nice thing about the sewer surplus is the fact that we keep making the sewer treatment plant even better every year. So over the course of time, as this surplus increases, over the course of time, I'm not saying it's this year or next year, we're going to be able to reduce the rate again to the ratepayer. So it's it's working for the township, and you know what? Other towns do it, and I have no qualm doing it. I'll do it every year as long as I'm mayor.
I just think it just needs to be stated for the record, like what we just talked about, that if it wasn't for us having to, I'll say, bail out the library,
Yeah.
Well, it's
The-
factual.
Yeah.
the budget would be about it would be right at the 2%.
Yes.
Right about the 2%.
Correct.
Percent-wise, yeah.
And I want to kind of make mention what Mr. Criffy had said. With us helping out the library, which I think is the right thing to do, and obviously we're using our sewer surplus. I know last year we didn't have a large increase, but we also used a decent amount from the sewer surplus. How much was it last year we used?
1.5, but we also use water.
Yes.
We did not use the water this year. But let me say this, what we did, which was very painful last year, was we reduced the medical. We did not budget to the max. We got very lucky. Number one. Number two, we did not budget all of the unfunded liability. We actually only budgeted, we only budgeted 4 years versus 5. So we were very much short on there, trying to make this budget at what you asked us to do. What happens when you do that? We're paying the piper now. If we had averaged the 2 years, we wouldn't be in the situation of 4%. We would have 2%, 2%, even with the big library problem.
But realistically, though, I mean, even though we kept it down last year,
Right.
again, if it wasn't for us having to help the library out,
Right.
we'd still be at 2% this year.
Correct.
Absolutely, no matter what.
We really are trying our best to give all the amenities to the people, give the best service we can, expand where we haven't been able to before with the EMS, and keep it at a reasonable level of $70 a year. And I think, I know Ellen pays your garbage separately. It's $100 and something a quarter, or $300 a year separate. We don't do that to our people. And I think it's a small price to pay for the kind of service.
I think it also needs to be stated for the record, that number of how much the increase is going to go up, the majority of that is school taxes, which
Yeah.
we have nothing to do with.
Right, we cannot fix that, and that is higher than ours. It's $2.9 million. However, $2.9 million on $100 $126,000. That percentage is a lot smaller than our 2.9 million on 60. You know what I mean? So 0% is zero, but that's what's difficult about percentages. I'd rather talk dollars and
Can I-
points. Yeah.
Can I just do a follow-up here?
Sure.
I mean, you went through a very detailed slide presentation on the major improvements that are going to be going on with our infrastructure. I mean, if we don't invest into the Knoll Country Club, we're not going to make money on it. It's just going to be sinking, and we'll be putting more money into it. I mean, our utility with the sewer treatment plant, we really did some wonderful things down there, and you have to make the investment in order to make money back. So I
Right.
think that we're being really responsible this year on investing in our infrastructure. And let's just face it, the library has done amazing things for the students in our town, and that represents our town. And unfortunately, there's some fiscal problems there, and we're going to be there to help them. But if we don't, it's only to get worse. So we
Yeah.
really have to be, how can I say, look at this in an intelligent manner and say, hey, listen, this is our town, this is our infrastructure, and things are only to get better. I mean, we have major companies coming to the town.
That's exactly
It's going
right.
to offset our taxes. And listen, we've been down on our police department for over 20 officers for the last several years. So everybody wants their, their neighborhood to be patrolled, and the heroin epidemic that's going on.
disaster.
You had obviously a major bust in our town with, a marijuana